Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Riera, and this is Zaklina, Claudia.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. And just so you know, I was on season 4, episode 18. If you don't know much about me, that's where I introduced myself and told you about how I help people overcome their challenges with their mindset, thought patterns, behavioral patterns, and things like that. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. Damn, you just beat me to the point. All right, just go ahead and talk then. Shit. No, I was kidding.
That's all right.
But it is a pleasure having you back. I want to talk more in depth. Today, we talked about a little bit in the last podcast about the gig society, right?
Yes.
So maybe starting your own business. So today's episode is going to be about how to start an online business, what that entails, why, and the longevity of it, honestly.
Yeah.
So let's start from the top from that. So what would be the reason to start an online business?
There are usually 2 reasons: money and passion. If you're looking for extra income, if there's something that you love but you hate your job and you can't do it there, most people try to get away from that and start their own online business. And so we can build generational wealth. We can feel more fulfilled because of the fact that we are creating something for us on our own terms.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we discussed last time, I'm a contractor. I have a photography and videography business as well.
Yeah.
And so there's so many varieties, because people don't just have one skill set.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
There's layers to people.
Yeah.
And so you could utilize those layers as a business.
Absolutely.
As well, right? So what type of person would be good for starting a business?
Someone that is determined to do something on their own. Someone that doesn't necessarily need a higher up to tell them what to do and can have the discipline to achieve things on their own.
Yeah.
Of course, yes, mentorship or other means of help can be very useful, but in terms of, hey, I'm not building someone else's dream, I'm building my own,
Yeah, I think that's a big one for me. Every time I think about going back to the employment work, I'm like, oh, God, 9 to 5, 40 hours, 60 hours a week now.
Oh,
right?
Geez.
I remember when full-time was just 40 hours. Now it's 60.
Correct, yeah. and we'll go back to inflation if we need to, but
sure.
Yeah, it's taking a lot of time freedom from us. And there's nothing wrong for with a 9 to 5 if you love it, if you love what you do. But so again, who is it not for and who is it for? If you love your 9 to 5, this is not going to be for you.
Yeah. And not just that, but I guess the work that it entails as well. I feel like a lot of people don't realize how hard it could be, depending on the work that you do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess the reward from it is just so much more.
So much greater. And I know you may be sitting here thinking, I'm overwhelmed. Where do I even begin? I always thought about becoming an entrepreneur, but that's risk. Literally definition of what an entrepreneur is taking risks. And so you might be sitting here thinking, well, I'm overwhelmed. How do I even start? I've thought about becoming an entrepreneur. I thought about getting away from my 9 to 5, but I don't even know where to begin.
Let me add on to that. So a lot of people do have that struggle, and that's what stops them from doing it in the first place.
Yeah, the overwhelm.
Yeah. So what are some steps that people can take to kind of start off?
Right, because as an entrepreneur, you are a risk taker, literal definition. And so if you're afraid of taking risks, this is not for you. But some general guidance that I can give on where to start is pick what you love to do. What can you talk about for 30 minutes nonstop without preparation? Is it about your kids? Is it about your health? Is it about, what topic is it?
Yeah.
determine that, because usually what you can talk about the most is something that you're passionate about, and it'll show, because energy is real. And if you're picking a topic just to pick a topic, people are going to be like, it's not going to be of value as much.
Right. And it's probably not going to last long too. You're probably going to do it for a little bit, but then like,
Right. And the 3 most profitable topics are money, health, and relationships. So if you can kind of tailor or niche down to one of those topics, that would definitely be helpful for everybody. And if you can't, there's always one of those topics can flow into one of your niches.
Sure.
And what I mean by niche or niche, however you want to pronounce it, for example, you have a life coach, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to niche down, which is what you have to do, because people are looking for a specific person or a specific product, you have to say, I am a coach that works with pregnant women during their last trimester to help them overcome fears.
Yeah.
So it's very, very specific. So if I help people with their thought patterns and belief systems around money or life transformations, that's more of a specific topic.
Yeah.
And people have a problem with that the most, because they're like, how can I specify it? Pick your topic of choice, see what people need, and maybe this is what you needed.
Yeah.
I would go back to your experiences. What did you need the most? Because usually that can become your passion. If someone wanted to play basketball, but they always had an injury and sat out, maybe they want to become a physical therapist for sports figures,
Right. Or a coach or something like that.
Or a coach.
Yeah.
So usually from experience, you have the passion and
That's true.
find it there too.
Yeah. I mean, like that just reminds me of all the people that's been through the podcast, right? All the guests that I've had.
Yeah.
I got, and I still want to get, I have this one friend that I want to get on here, and he has his own business of styling dads, like clothing.
Amazing.
Brands, you know what I mean? Like,
I love it.
Makes a business out of that and stuff like that.
And that is specific.
Yeah.
Who you're styling.
Right. So,
Perfect.
And I think the more niche you are, the better of an outcome, I think, that you could, that it would be, because it's not so general, right? It's like,
Right.
It's almost like how people say you can't make everybody happy.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right. And when I first started, I was a little bit more generalized. I wanted to help people with their goals, financially and mentally, but I didn't really specify it until a couple years in, or maybe a year in at least.
Yeah.
And
Which is good too.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you got to start off that way.
Yeah.
Like
You'll find it.
Right. Eventually you will find your own style and your own way of doing things.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like photographers, how you start off editing pictures, you might copy somebody else, but eventually you start to find your own style.
Right.
Take what works, leave what doesn't work.
Right. What theme do you love working with the most? Do you like shooting weddings, or do you prefer something more in the fantasy field?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Like Sam.
Yeah, that's who I thought about.
So with starting your own business, there's ups and downs, right?
Of course.
What are the downs of starting a business? Like the realistic things that people should think about.
Imposter syndrome. Thinking, oh my gosh, am I good enough? Yes, you are good enough. Stop it. I'm telling you right now. Anyone can do it. Don't let somebody tell you that you can't just because they haven't done it themselves.
Right.
Because they're going to judge you. They're going to try you. Keep doing it. What room do you want to be in 10 years from now? Do you want to be in a room of other employees that have stress and anxiety, or do you want to be in a room where you're talking to like-minded people that are making $1 million a month?
Right.
And, think of whichever room you want. Those are just examples.
Yeah.
But
I feel like you have to have a lot of patience
a lot.
when it comes to
A
that.
lot. If you don't have patience, this is not for you.
Right. I mean, like, people think of getting like being rich when doing this business, but how long is that going to take?
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. Everyone wants to get rich quick.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone thinks, oh my gosh, they just, this artist's song is on the radio. I've never heard of them. Oh, wow, they just got rich like that. No.
Right.
They've been working probably 5 to 10 years together,
Yeah. And then you have the, because I used to be I guess what you have, the hustle mentality.
Yes.
Right. But like, it was unhealthy. It
Yes.
was like 18, 20 hours a day.
Ooh.
I was lacking sleep most of the time and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
there's a boundary there when it comes
Right.
to working harder versus smarter.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to be conscious of how much your time is worth, because that's what we can't reverse that.
Mm-hmm.
We can maybe fix any financial issues or mindset issues or health issues, but we cannot fix time or go back in time.
Right.
So I would definitely say pick a boundary of how many hours per week do you want to work? Are you being overworked? Are you burnt out?
Mm-hmm.
Because most people have that nowadays. They're trying to keep up with inflation, and so they work extra hours overtime, but is it worth your mental health? That's what you need to ask yourself.
Right. And maybe like kind of think about that in the beginning stages of starting that business as well.
Yeah, you're going to do a lot of hard work, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to think about. It's going to be worth it. Are you getting engagement? Are you getting people to become your client or buy your product or service?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can tell if it's something of value that is working.
Yeah.
And just because it doesn't work right away doesn't mean that it won't work.
Mm-hmm.
If you're consistent.
Right. Consistent with tweaking. A lot of tweaking.
Consistent with tweaking.
Right.
Consistent with your social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
Consistent with letting people know what you're doing in the first place.
Yeah.
A PSA, hey to everybody, just so you know, I'm starting a business on this and this. I'm going to eventually niche down and be more specific, but this is what I'm doing. And I'm getting certifications and this and that.
Yeah.
Or I'm creating this specific product and I'm going to launch it on this and this date. Set a goal for yourself.
I like that, because like you're calling it out to the public too.
Yes.
And I think people can relate to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to kind of like deal with, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And it's not this stress that's on your shoulders by yourself.
Know. Right. And a lot of people will be very supportive and a lot of people won't. And those people are usually family and friends, but that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then, we talked about work harder and not harder versus smarter, right? Sometimes it's both.
Yeah.
And like we said, it's a balance. People talk about, they talk about work-life balance and stuff like that. So like you said, like list out what's important to you, what's the priority. And that list can be fluid, right?
Yeah. I mean, set aside top 5 things. What do I need to do in order to get me where I want to be? Am I doing this daily? Set aside an hour a day if you need to slowly build up your time. Mm-hmm. But if you have a job that is just keeping you and you have just no time at all, I would definitely try and minimize those hours a little bit if you can and pick up a side gig that can be less restraining, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And use your 9 to 5 in order to collect income towards your product or service or whatever your business has.
Yeah. When people talk to me about work-life balance, I say everybody has their own balance, first of all. And second of all, it's not a 50-50 always split, right? Maybe you have a deadline in a project, so you need to dedicate a little bit more to work and then a little bit less in life, and then vice versa, right? Once that project is done, let me go back to living a little bit more with life and then work and stuff like that. So that's what I mean by like being fluid with work and life balance.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. And another thing that we can do is use our weekends to utilize the time we have towards building your business or your social media presence or calling it out, whatever it may be, because the more you do that, the more people are going to know, and the more people that know are going to spread it, which equals more audience.
Right.
And eventually
More clients,
more
and
clients,
then more
more
money,
sales.
and then more wealth, and
so start somewhere, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about goals, right? Because when you're starting an online business, I guess there needs to be goals in mind, right? So
Yes.
talk about that if you can.
First goal would be, what am I doing? Let's figure out what I'm doing so I can be clear about it.
Yeah.
Because if you're unclear about it, so will your audience. Or your audience will also be unclear about what you're doing.
Right.
So that's the first goal. Niche down. Figure out what you need to do. Second goal, pick one platform. Don't overwhelm yourself with all 5 platforms or however many you're using. Because if you can just focus on one platform, it'll be so much easier to be consistent in your social media presence.
Yeah.
So that would be a second goal. Third goal is to look where your clients would be hanging out in order
That's a good
to
one.
figure out how to bring them to you.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to like business in general, it's about seeing a problem and solving a solution with your business, right? And so, yeah, that makes complete sense. You know,
Yeah.
where is your business having problems? Oh, it's at the park when they get out of the car, this
Yeah.
thing happens, and there's not a thing for it.
Right.
You know?
So this is what I need.
Right.
Let me search.
Right. There's a research stage too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing that people could start off with. You know, you got big goals and small goals. How do you determine which is which?
By determining the length of how long it would take,
Yeah.
that'll be easier to determine, is this a big goal or a small goal?
Right.
So let's say you're trying to make your first 10,000. The first year it might not even be done in a year because you're starting off, right?
Yeah.
So that would be a big goal, but also long term.
Yeah. I think it's hard. Like I found it hard to determine how long something's going to take. So like how do you help that?
You can, by specifying a date and time, it'll motivate you to actually do it by then. So that can help. You can also break it up into little pieces, and then again, it would become a small goal. And that would make it less overwhelming of, oh my gosh, this is too big. This is a crazy goal. I could never do it. Nope. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Split it up into little pieces. It'll be much easier to follow the path that you're on.
So making sure, like, if you have a big goal, to always, you gotta know the steps to get to that big goal, right? So that's what you mean by breaking it up into small goals.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that a lot. And then that'll help with kind of organizing yourself as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think, like we talked about a little bit, you know, it comes down to patience when with your online businesses or just businesses in general. How do you calm your mind down from, you know, all the pressure of starting a business?
That's a good question. I would just say reminding myself that despite what anyone says or thinks or how long it takes, that if it truly is something that I'm passionate about, the time shouldn't matter because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
People
so
forget that.
I remind myself that, and I always tell myself, if I am showing up as the person that I'm trying to develop into that I am, if I show up for my higher self every single day, I'm going to be that.
Something's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you do something enough, something's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah. So are you showing up for yourself?
Right.
Are you actually trying, or are you just sitting on your butt and comparing yourself to other people?
Yeah.
So stopping the comparing is another thing.
Right. I think one of the things I've always told people is be happy with your pace.
Yes.
Because especially when you're that hustling stage, right? But they're not happy. You got to be okay with your pace because, like you said, eventually it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just about when.
Right. And if you need some mentorship to help get you there, a lot of people use that. You know, they search for someone who can pretty much hold their hand through the process. And that can be something. You can also reassess and every month say, hey, this is the engagement or reactions that I've gotten from this, and determine, is it working? Is it not working? Do I need to tweak something? And then in the next 30 days, do it again and continue doing that.
Yeah.
And that way, you know that your patience is worth it because it is working. Things are going up. And it could be very frustrating because you're like, oh my gosh, I've done this and that and nothing's working. But you have to look at your insights or look at what has been an improvement throughout these 30 days or has it just been nothing?
Yeah. Right.
Because it could be just nothing. And then you know for sure, okay, I'm doing something wrong. So I would say do these 5 things. One platform for 1 year for one product or niche, product or service, one niche, and one theme. Like, as in showing up for yourself this way consistently. So if you do those 5 things, you will definitely see growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is my recommendation to you all.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by and talking about this.
Absolutely.
I think it'll help some people, and that's kind of what you help people with too, as well, right?
I do, because it does have to do with mindset and money mindset, and a lot of people are stressed about how can I improve where I'm at if I'm feeling stuck or I can't move forward in this direction. I don't know what's right for me, and your mind you'll eventually figure it out. There are a few practices you can do.
Sure, absolutely. And you're there to hold their hand.
And I'm here to hold your hand, you know?
All right, cool. Thanks again.
Absolutely.
Do you want to let them know how they can reach you?
Sure. You can email me at wealthymindset@gmail.com or visit my store at stan.store/wealthymindset-solutions, and I'll be happy to give you a free consult.
That wraps it up for this episode of Inspired Voices. If you enjoyed this conversation, give it a subscribe, like, and share it with someone who needs it. The more eyes we could have on it, the better we could save a life.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Take care, guys.